Howdy, Banger Pals. Welcome to Overkill Reviews, Bangers Weekly metal review show. I don't know if you can tell by what's going on with my throat, but I am very sick. I am not feeling good. Thankfully, I am feeling good about today's review because it's noise. Noise is here to make me feel better. So yeah, hopefully we can get through this together. Hopefully it's entertaining for you to watch me suffer. It's the new album from Kanonenfieber called Die Urkatastrophe, out on Century Media Records, September 20th. Kanonenfieber is a bit of a weird thing for a melodic death metal band. Formed only in 2020 in Germany by one mysterious man who goes by Noise. He wears a mask. You don't know who he is. That doesn't sound too weird for what we do over here, but somehow after a mere one full-length record and 4 years in action, he's putting on crazy concerts with sets and costume changes and pyro and like snow. Just look at this shit. You've probably seen me wearing some of his merch or talking about some of his other bands. Well, now he's finally released a follow-up to the first full-length record he released in 2021. So let's talk about it. Hey, what the hell? I thought I bought an album, not a book. What's going on here? The book isn't simply for show, just like all the stuff he does on stage, not just being mere theatrics. Kanonenfieber is an act that crafts stories. In the kind of obvious, no duh, all their art and merch is World War I horrors, but more impressive in that individual songs are smaller stories that, despite being in German, still effectively communicate what they're going for. To me, a guy who barely speaks his native language, let alone German on top of that. Like, you don't need the video for Single Der Malwurf to feel the vibe, but it's got something to do with mining or tunneling. It's got a dwarf pickaxe against the wall kind of vibe to it in the metal world, but the video does certainly confirm that. Noise is deft at creating places, people, and feelings through music more than most other musicians, and this helps him rise above the chaff that just sing about World War I so they can sing about war without having to confront as many uncomfortable moral subjects as comes along with it. It's far enough in the past that you can just go, yeah, it was a war, but more recent enough that you can go, and my great-grandfather valiantly fought, and woo, pride. His stories feel more grounded and cautionary about a large conflict that, as the cover suggests, was basically just leaders feeding average citizens into a meat grinder. This definitely falls into the bolt thrower or Sodom camp of, I'm trying to remind you of this shit so we make sure that the people in power do not do this again. This was bad for us. The perfect example of this is, instead of ending on a big epic track like penultimate song on the record, Oshblontenschlacht, or whatever the hell that says, we once again end on a somber acoustic track, just like on the first full length, giving us a kind of like, all right, look, we got all worked up, but let's ground ourselves and remember what we're talking about here, and that a lot of people died and there was a lot of senseless violence. Sorry, I couldn't German up the box of chocolates reference, but I don't know what the German equivalent of Quality Street is. Probably just a tin full of sausages. My point is that there's a lot of variety on the record. Songs sound very different because a song about tunneling is just naturally going to sound pretty different from fighting on a snowy front. And again, at least I'm thinking what that's all these are about. I mean, the song after the song about tunneling, it sounds cold. That looks like a song about tunneling, and that looks like a song where some stuff's happening in the snow. This is very much not in English. It doesn't do me a lot of good. Regardless, those are going to be different sounding tracks, and they are like pretty wildly different sounding, especially when you consider the narrow band of blackened death metal. Each has a very distinct identity. The fact that it's about 4 years of war helps. Like, a couple of things happened between 1914 and 1918. The fear with something like that is this going to sound disjointed? Is this going to sound like a compilation? But it has a sense of cohesion. It's sort of like a musical. I don't want to ever see Hamilton, so this is probably as close as I'm willing to get. There's an emotional range in this record without it ever being like cheesy or forced. Just listen to this somber guitar go back into like the full of the track. It's great. There's also just some good weenie tremolo black metal riffs in here and some less frequent but still crushing death metal segments. It's not a lot all about the grand picture and what he's trying to say. There's really good music at the heart of this. The death metal segment especially, there's Noise double tracks his voice a bit, and we get this low growl at the same time as his more standard shrieks. His vocal performance on the whole thing actually show his most range ever, and he's trying out a lot of different looks, and every single time he's succeeding. I don't think there's any time where I go like, don't do that again. Most of it though is still his trademark sound though, and he's even kind of elevated that. He's not lost a step there at all. I am losing a step. I am burning up. Holy hell. Worth noting is that the production of the record is pretty huge, but doesn't sound sterile or overdone. It's not your washed out black metal preference of your boy here, but if you're going to do it big, this is how you do it. Though I would personally love it if this whole thing sounded like it was recorded on World War I era technology, a la standard black metal. For a lot of these tracks to fully work, you do need a sense of scale though. Like if you're writing a song about air battles, I should hear, air, space. I think both are preserved really well on the record. Have a listen. So, is this my favorite Noise release to date? No. After all these insane open air shows he's been playing, it feels like he set out to make an album with all the theater and bombast to suit these kind of environments, and he absolutely did that perfectly. You might remember, though, I live in Canada. high. So my chance of seeing it in its natural environment is almost non-existent. So getting the record feels a bit like I'm buying the Sabaton Lego set and it's just coming with the DVD and no Lego. What the hell? I want the Sabaton Lego. Just kidding. I don't want the Sabaton Lego, and I'm not comparing Sabaton to Kanonenfieber. Sabaton suck. Am I mad about all this? Not at all, because I have Letha and I have Non-S Deuce, his other two projects. I wish everyone would do this. Write your big show-stopping records. Try and elevate to that next tier. And then have some grounded side projects for your core audience that help get you there, man. Why the hell can't Metallica just start some shit called Lightning Lord and turn out a Ride the Lightning type record once a decade? That's all we ask. Now, this might feel like a cop-out or a cope, but I don't think so. I still like the record. It's just not as much exactly my thing. I'll be listening to it again. I'll still be looking forward to the next Kanonenfieber record, just not as much as the next Letha record. By having these multiple projects, I'm able to appreciate the blockbuster while knowing it's not at the expense of a little art house later. At least, I hope not. Noise, please keep your other two side projects alive. Then this is a deal I'm totally cool with. I'll celebrate the guy's entire catalog. Oh, dear God, I need water. Wow, that water tastes good. You know what makes that water taste so good? It's just water, and there's not a Glade plug-in in my nose because we don't have to advertise some stupid water bottle here because we have a Patreon campaign. He tosses a couple of bucks, no ads. We get to make content about whatever the hell we want. And if you don't have a couple bucks, just, like, comment, subscribe, support the channel. We appreciate all you regardless. The actual reason I'm happy here is that I think Noise has shown that you can produce high-quality European open-air blackened death metal style without it being a self-indulgent bore. Yes, I am talking about Behemoth. Very much I am talking about Behemoth. I'm sick. I'm taking shots. I don't care. It's hard for me to think of anything that's actually done wrong on the record. I know some members of my Twitch chat complained Der Maulwurf sounded like Rammstein, but I think it's just an industrially metal song in German, which, hey, maybe those are synonyms to you. And maybe you should be reminded that I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/metalcomedy every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I research my Metal Monthly video live, so you get to hear every album coming out 1 month in the future. It's the biggest scale he's ever tried, and he's certainly demonstrated that he can just as easily hang with the big boys as much as the basement boys. So I'm giving it 4 out of 5 Kanonenfieber skulls. Any of the skulls from any of the covers. Dear God, I love the cover art for every one of these records. I'm glad he's just sticking with this. So what do you think about the album? But before we talk about what you think about the album, what do you think about these next 2 albums I'm going to tell you in the shoutouts? Because we have shoutouts. Of course, we always do a little shoutout action at the end, give you a couple more records to buy. I have death metal for you, and I have black metal. If you want death metal, Aberration is releasing Demonolatry on Invictus Productions September 27th. And if you want black metal, Spite is releasing The Third Temple on Invictus Productions September 27th. So pick those records up. Pick up this crazy Kanonenfieber book. What the hell? And let me know what you think of the record. Let me know what you think of those records. Let me know your cold remedies, whatever. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.